isn't it a wonderful, beautiful day in New York? We have rain, we have a little snow, some wind, really chilly, chilly temperatures. And when you run a weather business, your perception of a nice day changes a little bit. So I'm Sheri Bachstein. I'm the CEO of the weather company and GM for IBM Watson Advertising. And I'd like to share with you today a concept of what I call selfless innovation. 75 and 20. These two numbers sum up innovation today. Now, these aren't my numbers, these are BCG numbers, but 75% of companies know they need to innovate, and they are planning to prioritize that work. So that's good. The 20 up here represents the percentage of companies that are actually ready to scale that innovation. So we're falling a little bit short of our ambition. And as leaders, it's really up to us to solve that problem. Because what we innovate, and how we innovate, and who we innovate for can really make the difference between success and failure. Now, I think one of the reasons that the gap between these two numbers is so large is because when our teams innovate, they set out to solve a business problem. Look, and I understand how tempting that can be, right? I want to put my resources on something that drives revenue or increases margin, or that can actually make me run a little bit more efficient. But I don't think that's the right solution. And I want to spend the next 15 minutes telling you why, and giving you some examples of selfless innovation. I'm going to tell you how it's working for my company, and most importantly, I want to tell you how it's working for my consumers and for my customers. So when our teams set out to innovate, they set out to innovate to solve a business problem or to make a business impact, right? We're looking for audience, we want to grow our market share, we're looking for new revenue opportunities, or if you have a subscription business like I do, always looking for new subscribers. And I want my teams to get those business impacts as well. But I want them to earn it. I want them to earn it by putting the people that we serve at the center of that innovation. And so sometimes that means that innovation is not a direct linear path to a financial metric. Sometimes it means doing what's right for your customer instead of for a business impact. So let me give you an example. Let's start with the video.
Severe weather can happen at any time of the year, and unfortunately, these storms are rolling through overnight.
Oh, big Fireflies. Yeah, no. Huge, go, 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 go. Listen.
Both of them are okay, man.
Oh, thank you.
Just get in the car with him. And look here. Here's the little one.
Yeah.
Coming right here. I was the guy in the truck at the wheel.
I walked into the dining room, and then I heard the roar.
The building went out and then just blew in.
Back in.
One block from my grandparents' house. There's no house standing. There's no house standing, and we don't know where all those people are.
So in mid-December, a record-breaking storm system made its way across 8 states in the central U.S. 66 tornadoes touched down, massive amounts of destruction. 87 people lost their lives. Now, we can't stop the weather. But at the Weather Company, we believe it's our mission to give people the information they need to stay safe. We believe it's our mission to help save lives. And I have 500 million people that come to us every single month to get that weather information. We deliver 2.5 billion alerts every month. And for this particular storm, we delivered 308 million alerts in 4 days, all in a vein to help people stay safe. And we likely did. But as this footage started coming in and we started to get these reports, I couldn't help but to think there has to be more. There has to be more that we can do. We live in an amazing day and age of technology. We have tons of data at our disposal. What can we do? There has to be a way that we can give people more warning time than the normal warnings that come out to help them know when they are at risk. So I posed this question to my team. That work stream is underway, and we are going to put out a new product in the beginning of spring to help people. And what was interesting about that is we used the technology and the data that we already have access to. We use data from the National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center. We use our AI technology. And we use the expertise of all of our meteorologists and scientists to come up with this risk prediction to help people better understand. So we used what we had access to already. So now people will know when there's a tornado, severe weather, or hail coming their way. Now this one is very near and dear to my heart because I have seen firsthand what a storm like this can do to a community. This is me in my very, very early days at Weather. I was a field producer on the live team, storm tracking team, so we were storm chasers. And so I have seen, and I have been at ground zero, when a mile-wide, think about that, a mile-wide tornado went through Norman, Oklahoma. The devastation, I just can't even describe it. Now, this was not that event. We were out with the University of Oklahoma. We would go out there every year. They have this big truck that has this big Doppler radar on it. It's called Doppler on Wheels. And we would travel for hundreds and hundreds of miles in a day, looking at a superstorm cell that may have the potential to create a tornado so we could study it to better predict it. So we were there for the science. And so I'm not sure why I'm smiling in this photo, because behind me, if you look down the road, all the way down that road, that's actually an F3 tornado back there. And we were safe, and it was in a very remote area of Kansas, so no one was hurt. And the quality's not that great here, back before digital cameras. And some of you may know Jim Cantori. He actually shot that picture of me. I was his producer. But anyways, I'm digressing. Let's get back to the topic at hand here. But at the end of the day, this product that we're putting out, it will likely not make us any money. It's not intended to. But what I will guarantee it will do is it will increase the authentic relationship that we have with our users and the trust that they put in us. And it shapes your culture. It lets my team live their mission, which is not ads and revenue, by the way. So some of you here might be thinking, well, easier said than done for you. You have weather and you have situations like this, and I think that that's very fair. But I don't believe that you can't innovate in the absence of destruction and terror. So let me give you another example that might resonate a little bit more with this crowd. And this is the work that we're doing around bias. So we are an open web business. We have OTT, we have mobile web, we have apps. We have an ad tech business that's using IBM Watson technology, AI technology, to help us with the identity crisis happening in our industry. And similar to what our consumers wanted, they want information from us so they can be prepared for the unexpected. Our advertising brand customers had this increasing desire to live up to the values of their audiences. And bias is at the top of that list. So we asked the question again, what could we do to help? So we started a journey about 8 months ago now and started to do research around bias. And we went into this research knowing that most of the conversation about bias has been about equitable representation and inclusion in creative, or the identity of conscious versus unconscious bias. But as we started researching this and talking to the brands that we do business with and some of our publishing peers, we found what we really want to do is to identify it and to mitigate it across all advertising data and technology. And so we've invested a lot of intellectual capital, a lot of resources. By the time we finish, it'll be about an 18-month journey from beginning to end. And we plan to make all of our findings public. We actually just released a white paper, and now we're building tools, open source tools, that can help mitigate that everyone in the industry can use, and I hope that you will. And so I have given up any expectation that we're going to profit off this work. We won't. But that's not why we're doing it. We're doing it because we have the expertise, we have the data, and we have the technology, and because it lives up to our mission as IBM and the Weather Company to use tech for good. So when it comes to innovation, you must be clear who you're serving, your consumer or your customer, but not your P&L. If you do this, you have to trust that all tides will rise. Now, I just gave you 2 examples of 2 data and technology projects that we're doing. And again, it wasn't around customer acquisition. It wasn't around increasing revenue. But I have strong reason to believe that this approach works, because the numbers behind me are my 2021 results. We had an amazing year, 26% growth in audience. We had double-digit revenue growth. We're on our 6 quarters of growth. Now, I've done what I'm suggesting all of you not do. I have built products just to increase revenue. I've actually changed my products to monetize them more. And sure, maybe I achieved a short-term gain, but in the long run, it doesn't work. We have started turning away from that. Now, we're not perfect, but we are intentional. And I coach my teams and I counsel my teams. We have to remember who we serve, our customers and our consumers. If you do that, your tides will rise. Now, every other week in our industry, we're seeing lots of changes. We have topics, we have metaverse, and it's very clear that we are rebuilding our industry. But if your focus is on innovating to keep your business afloat and to keep your budget afloat, it likely won't work. But when you are necessary and when you are trusted by those you serve, that is really hard to disrupt. And it's really natural to evolve. So let me share with you some principles that I use around this concept of selfless innovation, something to make it a little bit more tangible, something that your teams can use and to understand. So principle number 1, know and live your mission, know what value you bring to your customers, and then figure out what assets do you have that can increase that value. Align your innovation investment and your strategy then to deliver on that value above everything else. A great example of this is the New York Times. We all know they didn't start as a native digital business, but they made that transformation because that's what their customers wanted. So they spent a lot of time, hired a lot of talent to make that transition and to build an amazing user experience on all digital platforms. And they've done it by always keeping their mission at the forefront of what they do, to seek the truth and help people understand the world. Just a really great example. And I'm always asking myself, too, how do we continue to create value at the Weather Company? How do we continue to build on the assets that we have? And we've asked this question through the years, and that's how we've evolved from a cable television network to a web publisher, to mobile apps, to now a data and decisioning platform that's used by billions of devices across the world. And most recently, we have also pushed into the subscription economy. We started a subscription business 2 years ago. And we started it because we have a couple segments of our users, one segment that wants more choice around privacy. And we have another segment that just wants richer data. They want more weather technology. We affectionately call them our weather geeks. But we built this subscription business to super serve those segments of our users. Today, it's turned into an amazing revenue growth driver for the business. We just hit 1 million subscribers in just 2 years. And so it's become a really big part of our business. So principle number 2, partnerships. So we all know that finding the go forward for our industry is going to mean that we all have to work together. And I just mentioned to you all the bias work that we were doing. And really that work happened in partnership with the Ad Council. They gave us some data on one of their COVID campaigns so we could analyze it and do our research on it. And they did this because we understood their mission and they understood our mission. And so we were able to bring the two companies together and align around this work because we both have the same goals around bias. So another great example of this, Peloton and Spotify. So what's great about this partnership is it was bred because each company wanted to show more value for their consumers. Spotify knows that workouts are the top listening moments for their users. And Peloton knows that the playlist that their users listen to helps to drive what workouts they use and who the instructors are. So it was very natural for them to come together to elevate the value that they both bring to their brands, although very complementary, very different. So again, I think this is a brilliant example. And I'm not sure if anybody flew here. If you flew on Delta, I flew down. Actually, you can now do Peloton workouts while you're sitting in your airplane seat. Relaxation and some stretches. I tried it. The guy next to me thought I was crazy, but I thought it was a pretty cool idea. So, okay. So the last bucket, and I'm almost done, so hang in here with me. The last bucket is don't be afraid to disrupt yourself. Lose the fear. A conversation about innovation can't happen without mentioning disruption because that's what some of the best innovations do. They disrupt the status quo. Well, sometimes, just sometimes, you're the status quo. So don't be afraid to disrupt yourself. Solve the problems that you create for your business. Help elevate the value you bring to your consumer. I'm going to give you a great example of this. About 4 or 5 months ago, I was looking at our app and thought, wow, we are out of balance on the amount of content and data we provide our consumers versus the way that we monetize. So I brought in my product team, my advertising team. I said, guys, let's work together. Let's solve this problem for our consumer. Because I know our consumers, especially when you wake up in the morning and you're in a hurry, you want to check the weather. You don't want anything in your way. You don't want any clutter. Solve this problem for our user. So they've been working on it for 4 or 5 months, doing research, testing, talking to consumers to figure out a path forward. We are launching that. We actually just launched it February 1st. It's rolling out now on iOS. We have reduced our ad footprint by 42%. We have removed 42% of ads in our iOS flagship app. Now you might be saying, ooh, her numbers in 2022, not going to look so good. The data doesn't suggest that. The data suggests maybe we take a little short-term blip. That's okay. But in the long term, that decision will drive incremental revenue and grow our business because it's going to create more brand loyalty. We are going to have happy consumers. And our advertisers benefit too because we are giving them more real estate to tell their brand message, and they don't have to compete as much for that click and for the eyeballs of our consumers. Now, as an industry, we have all disrupted ourselves, and probably thanks to many of you in this room, when we went from direct advertising to programmatic. We did that because our customers wanted automation. They wanted more use for their data. So we disrupted ourselves. Most of us took a CPM impact, right? Lower CPMs, maybe some short-term revenue. But it also had the subsequent effect of really exploding the market. So that disruption actually ended in a massive boom. So as you think about innovating this year, innovate from the perspective of doing right by your customer. All tides will rise. Know the value that you're bringing. Partner well. Embrace. Don't fear. And if we do this right, we'll close the gap between those two numbers. And as an added bonus, we will control our destiny, and we can stop living at the effect of all of this cookie business. Thank you for your time. It's good to see everyone.